Welcome back to How Did They Play, episode 9, and let's see who gets into the LQQ this time. So, Connor, you want to go first on this one?
So I got spun in Birmingham City. And again, like I've done on previous ones, I've gone through the archives, I've had a look to see who was there.
Picked a striker.
And there are... No. No, I was intent with this one. I wasn't going to pick a striker. So, I mean, there was some absolute cart horses that have been there. And I've gone for one who played a bit of Premier League football, really. And I'm quite concerned that no one's going to know who he is. I've picked Franck Queudrue.
Who? Sorry, I had to pause for a second there. Who?
Franck.
Doesn't even sound like a...
How do you spell it?
So, Franck is Franck.
Oh,
and then Queudrue is Queudrue.
Oh, I can't even remember the letters that you've just given me, Con, to be honest.
So many vowels in that surname.
Oh, I'm not going to Google it now. Franck.
That's him. That's Franck.
I've got him.
Is he a rip-off Giroud?
Well, Johan Giroud was one that I was going to pick because he had a very short loan spell at Birmingham in the Premier League. He had half a season there, but I saw Franck Queudrue's name and I recognised him from playing FIFA back in the day, and I thought, I know that name. And then I delved into his career and I thought, yeah, you're bad. You're definitely... Your quality is absolutely questionable. So, Franck Queudrue, he was an aggressive and a physical left-back who sometimes played as a left-sided centre-half as well. Born in Paris, in France, back in 1978, and he first started in the youth system at RC Lens, and then made the step up into first-team football in Ligue 1 with them. 42 appearances for them. Over the 3 years he started playing senior football, got a couple of goals, and became quite well known for his physicality and his aggressive defending. He ended up falling out of favour a bit there, and he got a loan move to Middlesbrough, which they then made permanent at the end of the season. In his loan spell, 28 appearances, 2 goals, and his permanent spell, 122 appearances and 9 goals. And he became a little bit of a cult figure for some long-range strikes that he would hit and rifle home, as well as his ability to take set pieces. But he also became very known for wild tackles and a high card count as well. And in one season for Middlesbrough, he only picked up 5 yellow cards, which you think for a defender is fairly respectable, but he picked up 3 red cards. And was part of the Middlesbrough team that won the League Cup that year against Bolton, but also got to the UEFA Cup final and got thumped 4-0 by Sevilla. So part of quite a good Middlesbrough side, was a well-respected and well-liked member of the team, but was certainly very reckless in his tackles. He then left Middlesbrough and he went to Fulham, 29 appearances at Fulham, scoring 1 goal, made his debut in a 5-1 defeat against Man United, and this is where he became much more known for his very, very inconsistent form. Brief flashes of quality in his time at Fulham, but lots of defensive lapses. Because he liked to try and get forward so much, he left a huge space in that gap at left back, and 9 times out of 10 he couldn't really be bothered to get back. So was then binned off by Fulham, and he went to Birmingham, signed for Birmingham when they'd just been promoted into the Premier League at the start of the 2007-2008 season. They were relegated that year. They were quite poor, and after they were relegated, Birmingham's co-owner David Sullivan claimed that he should have intervened to stop Steve Bruce from, and this is a direct quote from David Sullivan, buying a pile of rubbish. And he singled out Franck Queudrue as a major disappointment. Now, you'd think at this time his Birmingham career was over. It wasn't, because David Sullivan then apologised the next day, and he accepted the apology. But Franck Queudrue then turned up late for pre-season training at the start of the next season and was told that he could leave the club. He didn't leave the club, and he actually played quite a vital part in the Championship season in terms of getting back up to the Premier League. Again, hard-working, but very, very error-prone. Still lots of calamitous errors that were in there, and very, very rash challenges still as well. So Birmingham got promoted back into the Premier League, and that year they got they got back into the Premier League, they actually finished 9th. They had a really, really good season. And I'm not sure whether that was down to the fact that Franck Queudrue barely played. He made 6 appearances in the Premier League that season. His career then takes the most bizarre turns, I think, ever, because he then goes on loan to Colchester United and makes 3 appearances in a loan spell there. He gets released by Birmingham at the end of that season and is on trial at Peterborough United and is on the verge of signing for them until he then starts going back to Lens and training there, and he rejoins them for 2 years.
Oh, wow. So he's gone full circle.
He goes back, couple of goals in 32 appearances there, and then he goes and finishes his career at Red Star, 25 appearances, 2 goals, and retires at the end of the 2012-2013 season. So he was, a little bit of a Premier League journeyman at some sort of nostalgic
I didn't
times for those
know.
clubs.
Yeah. Again, I was really young at that time so I have no idea who he is, to be honest. But he's clearly got a lot of appearances for Middlesbrough. He was part
Yeah.
of the cup winning side, runners up in
Yeah.
the UEFA Cup. But I would say that's during his peak. So I just Googled when he was leaving Middlesbrough, he'd have been leaving he's about 28, 29. He was in turn of his age. So then you think about that when you get into your mid-30s, your early 30s, then you get into mid-30s, you're on the decline. So by the time that he's playing for Colchester, he's pretty much on his way out, isn't he?
Yeah.
And as a fullback, in that the way the game was evolving at that time, when you go in, we don't want someone who's sturdy and defensively good and sound. We want someone who can bomb up and down the pitch. So probably the game evolved, and he didn't evolve with the game.
Yeah. One thing I will say that you have to go and watch is if you go on YouTube and type in Franck Queudrue own goal, his time at Lens, the ball is literally in the air, I don't know, in his own half, not too far from the halfway line, and he just boots it, and it goes into his own net. And it's one of the most ridiculous own goals I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, it's an unbelievable finish.
As a striker, that is, wow. You'll never score a better goal than that.
Why is he doing that?
Like
I
don't know how.
Right, he's facing the advertising boards, and I get it. He's probably just only left-footed. He's got no right foot at all. So he's just gone. He's clearly gone. Oh, I don't care. Just smack it, and he smacked it right over the goalie. And the poor goalie, even the goalie looked at him and said, "What's happened there?"
Con, I'll be honest, I didn't know who he was until you mentioned him. Obviously, we've just gone through him now. But if the fact that he is most famous, forget the cup winning side with Middlesbrough, his most famous moment is scoring a worldie of an own goal. I think you've come up with an absolutely unbelievable shout for the LQQ.
Well, that's just that.
Yeah.
That's just one of the reasons he should be in, because, as I say, he was a walking card merchant. He loved a tackle. His disciplinary record was consistently among the worst in the leagues that he played in. As a fan, you probably love watching that. You love the commitment. But I can imagine, as a manager, you're probably on the touchline thinking, oh, my God, here we go again. I've got to bring another left back in for the next game. He was so inconsistent. So inconsistent. One week he might hit a 30-yard screamer, and then the next week he's mistimed a lunge, he's given away a penalty, and he's got a red card. And he literally, my favourite thing about him is that from the research I've done, he defended on pure vibes.
Just pure vibes.
He was so
vibes.
adventurous. He loved to vacate the left back spot like he'd been called to a fire somewhere else on the pitch. He'd be flying, absolutely flying. He wouldn't get back. He wasn't going to get back. So that's Franck Queudrue.
Well, I didn't have a clue. I'll be honest. I didn't have a clue. I'm going to struggle spelling his name for the podcast title this time. Right then, so we've got Franck Queudrue, left back from France, who is a League Cup winner and a UEFA Cup runner-up. So, Adam, I'm going to go to you, and you've got Swansea. So, which Swansea player have you chosen?
Now, obviously, in terms of their Premier League years, there has been a lot of Barclaysmen, shall we say, in the Swansea side over the years, especially them teams under Gary Monk. But, Con, I think you're going to like my pick. It's right up your street. I have gone for Sam Clucas.
Sam Clucas. Sam Clucas.
Con, do you want to tell the listeners why Sam Clucas is a very good pick, especially for yourself in this day and age?
Well, big Samuel Raymond Clucas currently plays for Shrewsbury Town, and I think I'd probably use the term plays quite lightly there, because after watching him a few times, he is certainly past his best.
So, obviously, people that don't know, Con is a beloved Shrewsbury Town fan, and I thought that I'd put this one in there just so Con could think about that midfielder, you know, and the town barely playing apparently. So, Sam Clucas obviously did play for Swansea in the Premier League. Now, his time in the Premier League was in 2017. He signed from Hull City, who were in the Championship, had a Premier League season, and then got relegated back down again. Actually, on his Premier League debut against Leicester City, he was described as exceptional.
Well, I thought, think back to Sam Clucas, when he was coming through the ranks at Hull, that he was actually quite a promising midfielder, that they thought he was going to go on to big things. And I remember Swansea at that time were quite heavily possession-based football, so I'd imagine that he was bought to increase that level.
100%, 100%. And again, I'll go back to what you were saying before. He was bought as a central midfielder, often played on the left-hand side as well. But you can understand why, in terms of being a Premier League footballer, in terms of being exceptional, so to speak, quote unquote, was because he had a lot of hype around him. And I'll talk about the hype around him in his earlier career just before I head back to Swansea. So he actually started his club career at Leicester City in their academy at the age of 16. He had short spells at Nettleham in the Central Midlands Football League.
Oh, wow.
And then he studied sport at Lincoln College, and then was offered a scholarship abroad in the United States. He signed for Lincoln City, full time instead of going over to the States there. So he made lots of like football league appearances. When he signed for Swansea, he was 27, and you think, he's not past his prime. He's probably around about in it, but I think his experience in the lower divisions definitely helped him show a bit more like attitude towards Premier League football. Now, obviously, going back to his time at Swansea, he made 29 league appearances in a full season with Swansea City in the Premier League, scoring 5 goals. He scored against the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Brighton, and became a very key point in a box-to-box presence, despite Swansea being relegated in the year that he was playing for him.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you were saying before, Liam, about obviously in his Premier League debut, he got the exceptional tagline from his
Yeah, for Hull,
thing.
yeah.
But I think he was definitely a player that would have not necessarily like went on to like massive deals. Not necessarily saying he would have played for the top 4 clubs in the Premier League at that time. But I think definitely in terms of like the mid-tier clubs and stuff like that, probably ones that were not fighting relegation like Swansea City were. I think really, if he obviously clubs must have passed up on him and stuff like that, but I think he really could have done a job for in the Premier League for a couple of more years. I think obviously there's a detriment to having lots of football league experience in terms of obviously he's not playing for Swansea until he's 27. But if he was 23, 24 playing for Swansea in the Premier League, you would have thought that maybe he would have stayed in the Premier League a bit longer.
I think we spoke of looking at his stats for Stoke. I'm guessing you'll get onto him, and he played a lot of times consistently. It seems when we speak about Rob Earnshaw, Con, and speak about him and how he's a Championship player trying to play in the Premier League, would you say that Sam Clucas is a Championship player at that time? Obviously, we've got
Yeah.
to forget recent bias because everyone goes through their journeys. He's gone from the right at the bottom, worked his way all the way to the top, now he's ascending back down. He probably just loves playing, and he's probably just a great lad, great leader. He's been there, he's done it, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of those players that when he was in the Championship, he was always playing for teams that were wanting to be at the top end of it, and he was always going to be there at the sort of cusp of it. When he signed for Hull, he played 52 times across that season as they returned to the Premier League when they won the playoff final against Sheffield Wednesday. So he was such a reliable and consistent player that he was playing so regularly and so frequently. Then went on to play regularly within the Premier League for Hull, and whilst they did then get relegated that year again, he was one of those players that Swansea have obviously looked at and gone, right, he's had a year of Premier League experience. He did quite well in the Championship last time. He's been fairly consistent for Hull in the Premier League, and he's got a bit of experience now. Yeah, we'll take a gamble on him and we'll bring him in and see what he can do here. And I think he then went on to struggle with some injuries, didn't he? And it didn't. It sort of started to dip for him a bit then.
I agree. I think going back to obviously the age thing that I mentioned before as well. I was double checking my notes there on Sam Clucas, and actually he was signed by Hull for £1.3 million, and obviously them being a Championship side at the time, like 1.3 now obviously doesn't sound like a lot of money, but for a Championship side, 1.3 million is like it's a lot of money. And then obviously when he went on to Swansea, I couldn't actually find the figure that he was signed for, but it says an undisclosed fee. But you would imagine that Hull probably would have made a profit on him,
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
after their season of getting into the Premier League and stuff like that. And again, this next point, Liam, as you mentioned before about him playing for Stoke, he actually signed for Stoke for £6 million.
Did he?
Stoke paid £6 million for him, yeah.
I'm just reading here that the deal to take Clucas from Hull to Swansea was apparently worth up to 16.5 million.
Hey?
Wow.
16, and that's from a Sky Sports article at the time.
Wow. I didn't think it'd be that
million.
high. I thought maybe it would probably have been around.
Spending that Championship club spending that much money on him.
No, that they were Premier League at the time, Swansea. Hull had just gone back down.
Sorry.
But
yeah,
I mean,
16.5 million.
That has stunned me, Con, that you've managed to find that, because I thought for an undisclosed fee, normally you don't get like they're not ridiculous numbers, are they? Undisclosed fees when they come out,
maybe it's undisclosed because it's overpriced. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah, maybe I thought it would probably been about around the £4-5 million mark, and I thought that maybe the sale to Stoke City for 6 million was actually good business. But if Swansea is spending £16 million on him, and he was only at Swansea for a year,
yeah, they've lost 10 million in a year.
Yeah,
lost 10 million in a year.
Well, it's probably as well undisclosed, because if it's worth up to that, how much did they actually end up paying? Because I would assume that maybe there were appearance bonuses, probably staying in the Premier League, and they were relegated, so they may not have actually paid that much. But it also, just reading here, it really benefited Chesterfield at the time as well, because they earned 760 grand from a sell-on clause they had in it when they sold him.
Oh, right.
To Hull, so their total profit on Clucas was over then £2 million from what they sold him for, and that as well. So Chesterfield made a fair bit of money from it as well.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that Robert Earnshaw argument. I know they were paid for him to play in the Premier League, but it's that risk that you take. Can they step it up? But after that, he's made consistent appearances for Stoke, 131 for them. I think he's a championship midfielder with limited Premier League quality for sustainability anyway.
I think he is. I mean, I agree with Con's player that he put forward before, but I think Sam Clucas is the epitome of questionable quality in the Premier League.
He's made 37 appearances across all competitions this season for Shrewsbury. He's played quite regularly, but I mean, he's gone from being that box to box or more creative spark to he's been playing out at left wing back. And he just really hasn't got the legs to do that anymore. He's 35, is he now?
He's
not got the legs,
now,
but
yeah.
I've just read that there must have been huge pressure on him at Swansea, because have you seen who he was brought in to replace? He was seen as the Gylfi Sigurdsson replacement at Swansea.
Wow.
Interesting thing about Sam Clucas' time, as you mentioned, Con, about being a box-to-box midfielder. but I always thought that Gylfi Sigurdsson was more of a number 10.
Yeah, he was a little bit. Gylfi Sigurdsson was more creative, wasn't he? But yeah,
100%.
he was apparently brought in to try and replace him.
I know he had a lot of things, later on in his career, but what a player he was.
Yeah.
Great player.
Oh, 100%. If it
player.
wasn't so controversial, he would have definitely been able. We would have been able to talk about him. I think.
But I think we will, because the player that he is. I think
Yeah.
he's very good.
This is probably why Swansea spent so much money on Sam Clucas, is because Hull had seen how much Gylfi Sigurdsson had been sold for, and we want a slice of that. Everton bought Sigurdsson for £40 million with another 5 in potential add-ons.
I think he was worth it. I think he was
So
that
no
good.
wonder there was that much money involved for Clucas, because Hull have gone, hang on a minute, you're in the Premier League, you've just got 45 million there, you're going to slap a little bit more on that.
I'd be interested to see who the director of football, who their person that's doing recruitment, because they've got so many signings right to get them to the Premier League, to play the football they did. They got so many signings right. I'd be interested to see who that director of football was at the time, to go, okay, well, why have you signed Sam Clucas for 16 million? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. What style of football are you going for there? Because he seems like a dogged box-to-box midfielder, as you say.
Yeah.
Not that creative spark that you're replacing.
Like you say, Con, he was brought in to replace Gylfi Sigurdsson, who was the creative spark. But just a little shining light. My last note on Sam Clucas before we move on. Actually, quite funny that both Gylfi Sigurdsson and Sam Clucas, at one point in their career, both played for the Town.
They did. Yeah.
I butchered that like... Fuck.
You did
Right.
butcher that.
I did. So we've had Sam Clucas, and we've also had, what was his name?
Franck Queudrue.
Oh.
I'd leave that in as well, by the way. I'd just leave it in because it's funny.
So I've gone for a player because I got spun in the wheel, West Bromwich Albion, and I said, I think the one we did, Victor Anichebe, I hate West Brom. So this was actually painful to read up and find players from that shocking team, that I just hate them, the Baggies. But anyway, this player is a class LQQer, if I've ever seen one. His name, Junichi Inamoto. So, a Japanese star. And he's our first Japanese player to enter this podcast. He's born in Japan, and he's came through Gamba Osaka's youth system. He then made his J-League debut at the age of just 17. Became one of the youngest players in the league history at the time. And he quickly established himself as a league starter. 118 J-League appearances. 16 goals from midfield. He's got numbers. He was also a key part of Japan's 2000 Asian Cup winning team. Before Europe, Inamoto wasn't a gamble. He was Japan's midfielder. And he was a very, very good one at that. Then he goes to Arsenal on loan. So he's one of Arsene Wenger's, Charlie, I like that one, Arsene Wenger's signings. And so in 2001-02, he went on loan, a 3.5 million loan fee in July 2001. Yeah.
3.5 million for a loan in 2001.
Bro, what? Maybe 18-year-old Japanese centre midfielder?
He was
Arsene Wenger was on the time then.
He was Arsenal's first Asian player. First Japanese player signed by a Premier League club. He arrived with enormous media attention ahead of the 2002 World Cup in Japan and South Korea. Arsene Wenger said he is physically strong and a great passer of the ball. He made 0 Premier League appearances. But he did play in the Champions League, and he did play in the League Cup. So he didn't make any Premier League appearances, but he did play in the League Cup and the Champions League.
But he's physically strong and a good passer.
So let's think about this. The Japan 2002 on South Korea World Cup's coming up. We've basically just gone and bought someone for commercial revenue. And we've bought someone just to be a squad player if they ever play, but gets the names on the shirts. And there's another player that I will come on to when I get onto Arsenal, but his name was Park Chu-young. A similar sort of player that we signed there, absolutely garbage, but again, just bought for the shirt sales. And it was just commercially important. He then ends up going on loan to Fulham after the Arsenal, and he signed after starring at the 2002 World Cup. So he actually scored 2 goals in the World Cup, and he helped Japan reach the knockout stage for their first time. He actually scored a hat-trick from midfield for Fulham against Bologna, and again in that Intertoto Cup final. And he won Fulham their first European trophy. So he made 41 appearances in the Premier League, and he scored 4 league goals. He scored an FA Cup goal, and someone described it as a Japanese peach.
I've just seen that. The commentator, Barry Davis. It's a Japanese peach.
You can't put that in.
A peach is different in Japan?
I don't... Exactly. Who's Barry Davis? Barry Davis got a bulldog in his arm.
He's an iconic commentator.
Just mean peach.
Peaches were thought to eliminate misfortune and evil.
Right. Moving on. So the reason why hang on.
Japanese peaches are renowned for their exceptional size, intense sweetness, and delicate, juicy, pale white flesh, often considered a luxury summer fruit.
Can't
So
put
it's
that in the
obviously
podcast.
a very good goal.
I'm leaving all that in.
They do look very good.
Does his goal look very good?
I don't know.
Imagine now, after all that comment about it being a Japanese peach, it is the worst finish you've ever seen.
Beats Everton, the FA Cup. So, well, he actually then went and played for West Brom, which is where I started at. So he signed for West Brom. He signed permanently, and he tried to establish himself in the league, as they did as well. But he really struggled with the pace of the league. He was struggling with the relegation battles. He was not a player that was made for that because he was such a good passer of the ball. He made 25 league appearances for him, and he went from a World Cup hero to a survival scraping midfielder. He then goes on loan to Cardiff City in the Championship, making 14 appearances. And then he has a European tour. He ends up going to Galatasaray. He ends up going to Frankfurt. He ends up going to Rennes. Crazy. He literally went everywhere. European tour. He eventually returns back to Japan. And guess what? Makes another 100 league appearances for Kawasaki Frontale between 2010 and 2014. He then later had spells at, and it just keeps going on, doesn't it? He later had spells at Hokkaido, Consadole Sapporo, SC Sagahara, and Nanka.
You've butchered that one, by the way. You have butchered it big time.
And then Nankatsu. So you know how old he was when he retired?
Why did you pronounce it like that? Why did you pronounce it Nankatsu?
Sounds like someone from Wagamama.
Can I have a Nankatsu, please? Jesus.
So he ends up retiring at the age of 45. Honestly, yeah.
Can I have a Nankatsu, please?
They're in the 5th tier, Nankatsu.
What's the name of the oldest Japanese bloke playing football? What's his name? The oldest player. Someone find him out. What's his name?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
He's still playing. He's like 55?
Kazuyoshi Miura, 58.
Yeah, Miura, yeah.
58. Who's he playing for?
3rd division side, Fukushima United FC.
Baller, mate. Baller. Should we just do an episode on him in a few times? 58 years worth of life to talk about there.
He's had a career, I need to be fair.
He's had a career. Right, so his playing style, Inamoto. Defensively, strong tackler. Got good range of shooting with some of his career-defining goals. His weaknesses, though, he was, he's not press resistant. You could get the ball off him easily. He struggled with the Premier League tempo week to week. He was built for tournaments, not for Saturdays. And so, honestly, right, he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. He just had a career, bless him. He's just been everywhere.
Liam, you say he's not bad. This might be the worst player you've put forward for the LQQ. You say he's not bad, mate. I mean, he played 28 times for West Brom. Fair enough, in the Premier League, but West Brom were horrendous. You can't. That might be the worst shout ever. He might be. Do you know what? Genuinely, right? He might be that bad. He can't even get into the LQQ because you have to have questionable quality to get into the LQQ. I don't think he has any quality.
There is no quality to be questioned at all.
So yeah. I mean, signed. He's got so many appearances. So many
Yeah, in the
appearances.
Japanese fifth
He
division.
played for Galatasaray.
And he also played for Nankatsu.
He did only play 25 times for Galatasaray, by the way. He played less times for Galatasaray than he did for West Brom. And I didn't even know he
He's
played for
playing the
West Brom.
Super League, mate. Playing the Super League. It's an absolute shout for the LQQ. Right, we're gonna sum it up now because I think we're at that stage.
Yeah.
So, right, let's get rid of the one we're not putting in. So out of the three. So we've got Inamoto, who was yours, Connor.
Franck Queudrue.
I can't even write it down. Right, and then who did you go for, Ad?
I went for Sam Clucas.
Right. Sam Clucas, not questionable quality.
Excuse me?
Hit me with it.
Sam Clucas, not questionable quality.
Championship footballer.
Right. I'll be completely honest here, right? With your shout, especially Liam, Inamoto, Sam Clucas deserves to be in the LQQ more than Inamoto just because he actually played like a good level of football, regardless of his time at Swansea and Inamoto's time at West Brom. Do not give me Galatasaray and Rennes.
Right. Let me come back to that, right? So Connor, Queudrue,
Yeah.
not in the LQQ. I think he's a good player. Solid left back, UEFA Cup runner up, playing a good Middlesbrough side. They finished 7th in one of those years. A solid left back, played week in, week out. Yes, when he got to the older in his career, started to tail off. But in his golden years, decent.
Yeah, his golden years were definitely at Middlesbrough. He fell off very quickly at Lens, particularly with that own goal he scored. He had that good spell at Boro. In a Boro side that were doing very, very well at that point. I think Steve McLaren would have been the gaffer for a large part of that. Very well respected there, did a very good job, though, which is why he ended up getting the England job. And then, he fell off a cliff after that. He went to Fulham. He was terrible. He went to Birmingham. He was pretty poor. Well, poor in the Premier League. He was quite well liked for Birmingham in the Championship. They quite liked him. And he just loved to tackle. He just loved to hit players hard.
So, questionable quality, right? Sam Clucas, Championship footballer. So not a Premier League level. So questionable quality. I'll go back on it, right? I've gone back on it, Ad.
Okay, right. So, yeah, okay. Sam Clucas, for the majority of his career, was a Football League pro. Championship was the highest level he got to in terms of that time. Obviously, then did eventually make the step up to play for Swansea in the Premier League. But I think he is the epitome of what questionable quality is. His quality wasn't questioned necessarily in the Championship. It hasn't been questioned since he left the Premier League with Swansea. Was he worth 16.5 million that he was signed for? No. But was he good for Stoke? Yes. Was he good for Hull before they got promoted? Yeah.
But Inamoto is questionable quality. How has that guy played Premier League? How is he?
How's he played for, 3 Premier League clubs?
3 Premier League clubs. He's played for Galatasaray, Frankfurt. Played for
Why are
Arsenal? Well,
Arsenal? Why are Arsenal signing him on loan? Yeah,
commercial. I think he's
don't know.
questionable quality. I think he's LQQ all over.
I think he's terrible. I just think he's terrible. I
I understand your point of LQQ of questionable quality, but I don't think the poor lad actually had any quality to begin with.
I
So it
think he's
can't.
LQQ. I really do.
I don't think his quality would have ever been questioned
do.
because you would have looked at him and gone, "Yeah, he's naff."
The fact that Mats Moladali didn't get in from the last episode, right?
Don't talk to
Is
me
a
about the last
joke.
episode. Do not talk to me about
No,
the
we're
last
not bringing
episode.
that back up again. But I come back to episode 1. Henri, camera, questionable quality. Questionable quality.
Colin, do you know
Didn't
what this
get in.
sounds like to me? It sounds like a cry for help because he doesn't have anyone in the LQQ.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
I genuinely, Inamoto is questionable quality. He is. He just is.
we've had players on this podcast where we've gone, we think they might be too good for it, and I think he's one of those that could actually be too bad for it.
Shut up.
Like, I think if you put him in, it takes this league to an even lower level. Like, it goes to a much lower standard.
Let's run off some of the players that are already in the LQQ. Jason Punchin, Kevin Doyle, Ben Jarney, Grant Hanley, Grant Holt, Voronin, Rob Earnshaw. Like, he is so much worse. Like, every single one of them players that I've just mentioned, you would want in your side. Right, do you know, this is the thing, right? This is why I don't think he should be in. I think I'd rather have Grant Hanley in midfield than I would in Inamoto. Give me Grant Hanley as your number 6. He would have done a job. Don't tell me he would have done. He would have done a job.
So he's too bad for it.
Yeah.
I really
You're
think he
outrageous. You're outrageous. I'm not speaking to you for a week. I'm done.
After last week's episode, I'm surprised I'm actually here. So I'm not hearing it. To be fair, I'm not hearing it.
I can't believe it. What, Sam? Right, you've read out those names, and we're about to put Sam Clucas in there. I'm sorry. Nah, I'm going back to Connor.
As we currently sit, no,
Sam Clucas.
don't
Sam
rule
Clucas.
me out.
No, just
as we currently sit here, he is still playing for the mighty Shrewsbury Town. By the way, just saying, he is still going.
Jason Punchin, Kevin Doyle, Ben Jarney, Grant Hanley, Grant Holt, Andre Voronin. Andre Voronin's bad. Rob Earnshaw, Bianchi, Sam Clucas. It doesn't go, does it?
Well, to be fair, Bianchi shouldn't be in it, should he? You know, there should be one of my shouts that should have been in the league already, to be fair.
Right,
But
Bianchi's
we'll
in it.
that.
Like it or lump it, he's in it.
I will die on this hill until...
I'm going with yours, Con.
Franck
You're doing that
Queudrue.
to spite me now because I put Sam Clucas in. It's just an agenda against me and my picks now for the last 2 weeks.
Inamoto should be in the LQQ.
No,
I'm sorry.
He's rubbish.
I'm
no,
sorry.
He's worse than. No.
Right. So right. No bias aside. Right, Connor, you're picking who's going in because me and him are just going to keep on arguing. So who's going in, Con?
Oh, I do think Inamoto
Still like Gary Neville.
He said Lucas now. I'm going to be buzzing.
I've also just seen PSG just gone 3-2 up. So, yeah, Inamoto's so bad. Sam Clucas, I feel like, is all right. And Franck Queudrue had a good spell at Boro in terms of, Premier League quality. It's too hard. It's too hard.
Liam, I will let you mull over this quote. So remember we were talking about Sam Clucas before. he was described on his Premier League debut, right? Premier League debut, he was described as exceptional. That's all I'm saying. Inamoto couldn't lace Sam Clucas' boots, mate.
That's
He
why
was
he's
that bad.
LQQ. I cannot believe we're having this conversation. He is LQQ. LQQ. He is.
No, I reckon when we do our new
Jimmy
season,
Bullard
it
is
is
just funny banter, right? I get it. Sam Clucas does not fit with those names that we've got, and
and
whoever your
Inamoto
bloke
does.
is, Quadrentu, whoever he is,
Quadrentu.
whoever he is.
Listen, all I'm saying, LQQ, Franck Queudrue, it fits. It fits.
Liam, you're telling me that Inamoto fits along them players like Kevin Doyle, Jason Puncheon, and Benjani?
Yeah,
No, he doesn't.
he does.
That's so disrespectful for Kevin Doyle and Benjani. It's unreal. The fact that he's even in the same league as them.
Oh, just call it the League of Quality then.
No, the league of.
Oh, if you're good at football, just chuck them in. Honestly.
Apparently, if you played in the Premier League, apparently, if you go on loan to Arsenal, you get in the LQQ.
Well, Kim Kallstrom deserves a place.
Right. Come on.
Oh. Shall I just spin a wheel? I'm good at that.
No wheels. No wheels. Pick it.
Right, I'm
Oh,
going Sam Clucas. Liam's going to go Inamoto. Con, it is down
absolutely.
to you.
I'm torn because I think one is far too bad for it, and I think one's actually like okay.
I'm honestly, if you don't, like, yeah.
All I'm saying is, Con, I'm not trying to sway your opinion, but when you next go down to a town game and Sam Clucas is playing left wing back in front of you, how are you going to look that man in the eyes and say to him, I picked Inamoto over the league of questionable quality over you? You see him
Well,
every week.
I can't look at Chloe and go, yeah, I thought you were questionable quality, mate, so I've chucked you in this league.
Yeah, but you
I
can't put Inamoto in.
Get Inamoto on the pod.
Well, yeah, we might
Say-
find out where Nankatsu is and what they're all about.
Nankatsu.
I
Gotta make a decision.
right, it pays me to say it, but I think
You're not, are you? You are not.
I think I've got to go for Junichi.
Who?
Junichi and
Oh,
Inamoto.
okay. All right, okay. So, I forgot his first name.
Fellas, this is now turned into a two-person podcast. Goodbye.
I just think because Sam Clucas had spells where he was actually okay, I don't think Inamoto ever had those.
Right, I think Franck Queudrue.
What?
Oh, I can't believe it.
Because I didn't know who was.
But waited so long for Con to make a decision. He goes Inamoto, and then you go, yeah, I'll go Franck Queudrue. Oh, Liam.
Right.
Thing is, if we leave it up to the listeners, they'll just put Inamoto in because of they play for Nankatsu.
Right. How did they play? League of questionable quality. Connor, be sensible about this. Who's going in?
Well, if I got the choice between now, have I got all three back into the mix?
All
or is
three,
it the two?
Well, to me, right, Franck Queudrue, right. This is getting bored now. Franck Queudrue,
Yeah.
UEFA Cup semi-finalist. No, runner-up, sorry. Won the League Cup, part of a good
Yeah.
Middlesbrough side. Ended up diving off a cliff because he, failed his career. I didn't even know who he was because, again, more about the time I was
Figure
born.
achieved, not
rather than-
literally, by the way, for people listening. He didn't actually jump off a cliff.
No.
No. Apparently, we're not allowed to talk about dead players on this podcast.
Don't think we are now.
I will. So, right. So then we got Inamoto.
Yeah.
Questionable quality. There's nothing more I can say, can there?
Bad, mate.
How
Bad.
did he play in the Premier League? How? And then you've got what's his name? Sam Clucas.
Disrespectful Sam Clucas.
Sam
What's
Clucas.
his name?
You know, how did he play Premier League? Because he's a good Championship player, a good football, EFL player. But Inamoto, how?
Well, I already said Inamoto, and then you said Franck Queudrue. So.
Right. So,
yeah, it's
Inamoto.
Mr. Nankatsu himself.
Nankatsu,
Oh,
Galatasaray.
Just put him in there and just put him in.
Galatasaray. Arsenal player. Come on.
Exactly. That's when the bias comes in place for Arsenal. That's why.
Well, he didn't really, did he?
Signed by Arsenal, mate. The beloved Arsene Wenger. You have to get it in somehow.
Yeah. Arsene
Right.
Wenger didn't make bad signings.
Shocking. No, he didn't. No. He's never made a bad one, has he?
Well, we'll find out next week, because that leads me on to next week. In our final episode for the series, we are going to be picking our own clubs. So Connor will be doing Chelsea, Adam will be representing Manchester United, and I will be representing Arsenal. And if we get anyone else on, they'll be representing their clubs as well. And this leaves me to any comments made on any one of the podcasts of any players that you want to potentially be entered into the LQQ. We will cover them. So please share the podcast that you're listening to right now. Please share it around your friends, get them listening to it, but also get in the comments. Who do you want to potentially go in the LQQ? And we will debate them. We will also support them potentially going in. But again, you are competing against our 3 teams. So thank you for listening. If you've listened this far, hopefully you've enjoyed this one and look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.